This is Fam Electric Ghost, and we are live on the air with Esraa. And this is our second or third interview, I think. I think it's actually our third. And the first video interview we've ever done with her. And we're live from New Hampshire and New Zealand. So we're happy to have you on the show again.
Thank you. Thank you. It's good to be back.
Now, we're going to be showing a complete video of your latest song, Angels in Disguise. Demons on Display, and we're going to talk about how you produced it and how you created the song. Because we like to show your work first, so we're going to actually cue it up so we can see it, and then we'll put you on mute, and then we'll talk to you about the whole process of doing a video and creating this new song. All right, so we're gonna do it right now. So let me cue it up and let's go.
Cool.
It's tough to walk the road as an artist just starting out. It's hard to win the respect of people, but when you do, even if it's one person, boy, you sure feel like $1 million. That the fight has been worth it. Worth it because you share a story like they do. You love what you do. You want to share it with the world.
To be honest, it's probably not my style.
But the world, it is busy. The world has other things to do. And it can be here, on this part of the journey that can feel so lonely, so isolating. Should I keep trying? Can my voice be heard? My art is not silent, even if sometimes I am. And I am your angel in disguise. I'm passing through your darkest time. And I have drawn the sword of light to fight your enemies while you hide. And I am your angel in disguise. I'm passing silently at night. And I will place you out of sight. I'll fight your enemies while you hide. You try to turn away. All the steps that we face. And I'll take the blow. Is this unknown? How far I'll go? And will take the blow. Oh, it's just I know how far I will go. I am your demon on display. You try to turn away. All the steps that really fade. But your angel's getting in my goddamn way. For Jesus.
Hey. Aren't you supposed to be playing a show?
I'll take the blow. Is this unknown? How far I'll go? And if I cross the bridge and pass the point of no return, is it true? Is it true that you would burn like to glue? I'm yours for you, I'm hurt for you, my words for you, my life for you, like the view, but this is how far you go for me. Look at me. And you dream, you sing mystery. Just turn your grown.
So that's we're back on the air, and that was a great video. I really it's a really interesting concept the way you integrated like a storyline and like a romance, like or some kind of situation in the story. So maybe you can kind of talk about how you developed it and your feelings about how you put it together and what you were trying to convey. Because I understand how I felt, but want to hear your take on it.
Sure. Well, the concept behind the music video, I understand that for a lot of like smaller artists coming up, it can be quite a challenge in a number of ways. So I wanted to kind of put in the fact of playing live shows to not many people sometimes to begin with. So like there wasn't many people in the theater room, and some of them were disinterested or disengaged. And I kind of created these characters that would, yawn during my song and just kind of feel disengaged or disinterested, because it's kind of hard to, muster up support sometimes for what you do and the art that you create, especially when you're sort of just starting out. And so I wanted to formulate that. I also wanted to bring in the idea of the romance being like sometimes relationships can be a little bit, they can be controlling at times. Maybe they can be somewhat toxic, or maybe even it's a relationship with like maybe a manager or another higher up than you, and they can put you into some vulnerable situations when you're sort of trying to extend your career. I've had a few personally, a few moments in my own kind of walk in life where I've sort of been just, put in a vulnerable situation for what I had to offer. And so I just wanted to draw on those experiences and bring them into my music video. And so I had a great cast. I had a great team around me, and I really enjoyed doing that music video at the theater, and it was fun and my own dream come true. So yeah.
So you're an actress too, right? Or an actor. You do acting. So did that help? That must help a lot when you put together something like this video.
Yeah, it did, because I myself and Josiah, the director, we wrote it out scene by scene, and I drew it out actually bit by bit.
So
I storyboarded it out. And then thought about like the concepts of like some of the emotion that we would portray just using our eyes. Obviously, it's sans, for the majority of that video clip, it's sans dialogue, so there's no speaking, but we can convey a lot with just how our body language is and our emotions and our eyes. So yeah.
I mean, that's the actor capabilities. There's so much you can do with your eyes. When you watch a professional actor, and just what is not said.
That's like, right.
The whole thing, from Hitchcock to to Tarantino to like Scorsese, you can tell like when you see a great film director, it's like it's the silence, it's the actor not even speaking. It's like their actions and a lot of things with your eyes. And I really love how the video starts with you on the street. And then like you're kind of talking this narrative, and then the concept with the like toxic or codependent relationship, that's really cool. I mean, I like a lot of, there seems like a lot of film ideas, and so when you wrote the song, what was like the whole? Is this part of a bigger project? Is this an independent single of any other project?
At the moment, this is an independent single. I have multiple like songs that I'm working on. I've got another song that I've completed that I'm basically near releasing as well. But the song itself was actually conceptualized. A band approached me that was touring South America at the time, and they wanted me to write some music for their band. So I sat down and I wrote I started just working on some melodies to begin with, because how I start with songwriting is just melodies. And I kind of came up with this sort of melody and this concept of angels and demons, sort of the conflicting emotion, the duality of you know, the human heart has a duality about it. You know, we have positive and negative, we have conflicting emotion, and I kind of wanted to say, hey, this is the angel side, and then there's a demon side as well. It can be quite complicated with, you know, and I think we even interact with the world in that same way, with a duality about us. Sometimes we feel like we're our true selves, and other times we feel like we're hiding behind masks or things. So I just wanted to play with that duality in the song when I wrote it. Yeah, so the concept behind the song, I guess, is a lot of duality about, you know, the wrestle of your heart and the wrestle of relationship too, because it can be good and it can be bad and it can test you. So I wanted to bring that into my music video as well, just being like the wrestle of like wanting to be loved, wanting to do something awesome, but at the same time also experiencing both positive and negative from that, you know, like walking down the street and handing out my flyers, like, come to my show, come to my Esraa Music show, and some of the guys like, nah, and then the other guys say, yeah, okay, I'll come. And so like you're getting both responses, and I think that is a part of life, is always you have that the angel side and you have the demon side. Yeah,
duality is something I like to play with, because I started my work as a poet, and
right.
I spent a lot of time with the Victorian poetry, like William Blake. He's one of my favorite poets, you know, and that there's a lot of duality in what he's dealing with, because he's dealing with like heaven and hell, and the kind of, you know, if you ever get into Blake, it's like a lot of what I did was like, well, how can I take that William Blake feel and have that duality and have that kind of Victorian idea of romance and put it in like electronic music is what I've been trying to do.
Wow.
So I totally get what you're doing. It is something I do even with my alter ego, Josephine Electric. She's like the female side of myself. My lead singer is not me, it's this other me.
Wow.
So that's kind of what I do. So I totally appreciate what you're doing in your video. And so did you end up taking that song back? Because you said you were working on it for another band. So is that the band working with you on that, or do you
actually, I actually just ended up, I wrote it and I thought, well, I kind of like that, a lot of that melody. I think I'll just keep it for myself. So so I just like tracked it and began kind of like fleshing it out, and so it was
so did you good. Do it in the studio that you're in right now? Is that where you put it together?
Yes, actually, yes. Yeah, actually I do. I need to release some videos that I've got of me just kind of just tracking it. Yeah, just recording it. And I've got a few of those, so I look forward to releasing them. Now that it's out, I can kind of release some of those behind the scenes videos. So about putting the song together, and which I think will be kind of interesting in itself. Yeah,
because there's so many musicians because of COVID. You know, you're lucky. Like myself, we both have home studios, and then we have a lot of control. And is when you got into songwriting and production, you decided to build your own studio. Is that because you want to have that much control over your sound?
No, I don't actually. I like having control over the artistic side of it. However, over the sound, I feel like from a technical perspective, we need a lot of we still need a lot of help to come in and just help us out, because I've been finding recently that I really appreciate being in the flesh with people, and so I've found it like that I want to be in the same room with them while I kind of create. So
going back into the studio is still something you like, to actually be with a producer in a studio situation with other musicians to get that feel?
Yeah, I think that's the way I'm heading because of the fact that there are a lot of people who are a lot better than me with everything they do, and so I wanted to kind of draw off them as well as like, you know, I think sometimes the collaborative power you can just actually come up with more writing and more. You know, if you generally know what you're doing and got some experience, you can actually just come up with more. And yeah, especially after working even just on set with my music video back a few months ago with the team, I realized how much I missed being with people. Yeah, and that I love being with people in the flesh. So yeah, this whole COVID thing has been sort of positive and negative as well.
Is it getting easier to do that now because of the vaccines and because of things now? Is it better in like, you know, a year and a half ago? Like a lot of people, we're kind of stuck in our bubbles. Are you able to actually? Yeah, you did the video, you did the album, the song.
Yeah.
Are you able to go out more?
Yes. Now we've just come out of our own lockdown again. I live in an area where the lockdown isn't been as severe. So in Auckland, yeah, they're still in lockdown, like the severest lockdown, like you can't leave your home. I've just been in that like last month. I was in that lockdown. So yeah, we're back to social distancing and masks and just like a real push for vaccines. So when I actually shot the video clip, it was in between those time periods. So it was like slightly after the first round of COVID, and then it's just before it hit the Delta variant. So I did it in the I got in there. This is quiet.
Yeah. But I think it's interesting because as a solo artist, you always have that kind of like struggle that like you can do a lot of stuff yourself, right?
Yeah.
But then it's you know, the engineering or even a producer can come in and kind of change your mind, because like if you're just caught up with all your own reference tapes and all your stuff around you're like, well, I kind of need another opinion, right? And that's why you want the recording engineer, you maybe want another collaborator
exactly
to kind of say, you know, what you think. I think what is really weird is sometimes what you think, you know, works, well, that the producer said, well, that really doesn't work, and then what you didn't think works, actually they think is the best thing. And so that's why you have to have like other people. And I think also like I've been in bands and I really love being in like, you know, like traditional rock band setups, like where I was the keyboardist and there was a bass player and a drummer. And there's so much like I could come up with a demo because I'm a songwriter. So I come up with everything with the drums and everything come in. But then once I got there in the drummer and the bass player and the guitar player, they changed what I wrote and they made it better because they're like, well, a bass player is going to play bass better than what I do on my Moog. And my drum machine is probably going to, if a professional drummer plays it, he's going to get a different feel.
For sure.
So that kind of, I love working when I'm in a band situation because it just gives you so much, you know, what your original idea kind of blossoms into something else. I feel like even when you're a solo artist, like your producer can kind of have that effect of like working with a band or bring in studio musicians to kind of feel things out. So it's just interesting, you know, because of COVID, we kind of a lot of people have been stuck doing single person, you know, construction of the music.
Yes.
So and the feedback too. The one thing I like to ask is like, if you have been an actress and you performed live before, but I think we talked about how you performed live. Have you tried to do like online performance, and what are your feelings about the kind of feedback? Because I've talked to a lot of musicians in the last year, and when they do online, they're kind of frustrated because they can't really feel the crowd. Is that something that is a problem for you?
Well, because I haven't done it yet, I don't know. So, I mean, I know that when I do live in front of a crowd, I really enjoy the crowd. So I really I just really enjoy it. Mind you, though, in some of the live settings that I've been in, I haven't been able to see that. Sometimes the lights are so bright on stage, you can't see the crowd, and so yeah, that's funny when that
I guess
happens.
you can hear them, but you can't see them. So I hadn't thought about that because I've always been smaller in New York or Boston. I can actually see people.
Right.
400 seat clubs, so you can actually see the reactions. And if you're a player, like I'm a keyboard player, so if I see people digging it, then I kind of dive into it even more because I'm kind of reacting. I think all musicians kind of react off the feedback you get. So if you see people digging what you're doing, then you kind of go into it more. You get into a zone.
Yeah,
when you're doing online, it was like what I found is I do a lot of online is I just kind of get into my own zone. I decide, well, I'm not going to worry about how people are interpreting. I'm just kind of get so into the song that I kind of get into a state that my own song is giving me my own energy.
Yeah.
And I think that's if you do online, you kind of have to do that rather than trying to wonder, well, they get it. Because if you keep on doing that, you're going to not really get into what you're trying to do.
Totally. Yeah, I think, definitely online is something I want to try. Because I just think it also helps to, just let people in a little bit more. Yeah, like let them come into what I'm doing just a little bit more, rather than just hiding away, which I kind of like to do as well, which isn't great. But
I think you get into your cave of your artistic zone, and
that's right.
And then you kind of like, okay, well, what's bad about it is like I don't know. I'm digging what I'm doing, but like maybe I'm the only one. so I love to do online like concerts where I actually my new recording method is I'll go online and just do stream of consciousness and do something for like an hour, and it kind of drives my new material because I'll go out and do a concert from my home studio, and I don't even have a plan. I just go off, and then I tape it, and then I go back and I like Frank Zappa, I go pull things out of it or pull things from another one, and that becomes my creative process because it kind of forced myself to be live, and I don't have to, like if you're in the studio, you can keep on going back and cutting in and pasting and trying to make it perfect. But if you go live, you kind of got to deal with what you did.
Yeah.
Then you kind of see what happens. And so a lot of magic can happen if you've been playing a while and you push yourself to be in a live situation. It's kind of cool. So I found that's like my new creative process.
Yeah, I could understand how it actually creates creativity because I have done a few songs live, what they call like free songs.
Yeah, freestyle.
Like freestyle, and it sort of comes out of, I guess, jamming, that sort of thing, and it's great because they birth some really creative stuff, and you can just draw on that, and you can kind of piece it together later, and then kind of refine it and actually go, okay, well, that was a 5-minute song, get it down to 3 minutes or whatever. Like you can actually just work on it and refine it, but it's got to start somewhere, right? The creative, the writing side of songs has got to start somewhere. And
so it's like when you wrote this song, was it something that was like pen on the paper first, or were you getting a groove and then you kind of came up with it? But you said you were given an idea from another band and that kind of started it. But did you already have like lyrics in mind, or did you kind of
they didn't actually give me anything. They just heard some previous stuff that I had done, and so I just went away and I just did what basically we've been saying, is I kind of just hummed over some melodies and just started singing some melody out, and kind of start from there. And for me, it's a mixture of to form a song at its grassroots. It's definitely a mixture of getting the having like a concept or like a lyric that I'm thinking about, or and then a melody as well. So just if my guitarist also if he's playing like a beautiful chord progression, I'll be like, is anybody using that? Can I sing over the top of that? Is that already in another song? And he's like, oh no. And then I'll just maybe just sing something over the top of it, and I'll be like, how do you feel about that? Do you like that, what I'm doing? And yeah, we kind of just create that. But I find that I like to journal, or I like to diary every day. So I like to be always writing every day.
Have a journal, like a poetry, a lyric book.
Yeah, like just a poetry book of just how I'm feeling, because I'll go back sometimes to that and I'll be like, man, I've been really thinking about this particular social situation, or and kind of draw from that. So it's good to keep writing, or just having a poetry book by your side or something like that, because you need it when it comes to lyrics.
I think it's interesting because I was watching a documentary with Tom Petty, right? And he had this habit of like just kind of scatting and vocalizing something. It wasn't even lyrics. Like he'd be with the full band and then he'd kind of just like sing, like not words, but like a melody in a kind of scat, like, you know, like you were saying, without the actual lyrics, just to get the melody line. So it's just a vocalization that kind of created like the actual chorus or the melody, but it's not words. And then he would later focus on the words. And a lot of times he would say, like, you know what? He would just like stream of conscious the words and then think like the first take, well, that's bad. I'm not going to use that. And then he'd go back and like, oh, like Jimmy Iovine, the producer, he's like, yeah, that's the best one. The first one you did is the best one. So it's kind of strange. Like sometimes like what you can kind of agonize when you're creating a song and you keep on why the first thing can't be the best thing. Or the second thing. It's got to be like the 100th thing that you come up with. And then you find out that maybe the intention of that first couple of takes feels like actually closer to the truth of what you were trying to do.
Yeah, it's so true, because you've got the feeling behind it too, and the performance and the heart, and that's captured, and that's what's so important. Yeah,
I think what happens as an artist is sometimes you start like backing away from the honesty of what you did. Maybe you're scared of it. You kind of scare yourself. It's like, well, maybe I was revealing too much, and you try to hide from it, and then it ends up being degrading what it originally was. And then you have to have the confidence to kind of say, well, you know what? Maybe this version is the right one.
It's so important to keep open, like during the whole process. I think that's what I've been finding, is just keeping open with, like, you know, other people's feedback, but also just like, you know, how I'm feeling at the time.
Do you feel maybe go ahead.
I was just going to say that acting has actually really helped me with my music and my songwriting too, because it's just helped me open up and actually just to really just be like, I feel this, and I am free to feel it. I think I grew up I came from a reasonably society does this to you. It expects you to act a certain way, or maybe you had a religious background and it expects certain things of you to act a certain way, and you're not allowed to feel certain feelings. And then sort of like songwriting, it's sort of like each song I hope to undo myself a little bit more. So it's kind of like acting. It's like, okay, I may sound a little bit like together in this song, but you know, my next song I'm just hoping to completely just keep on being more honest with my expression, more open with my artistry, and just keep on revealing just a little bit more about myself every single time I create a song. And for me, that is a success story, because I'm actually delving into the heart that I have, rather than kind of keeping myself at a distance from my own heart. So that's my acting has definitely helped to bring that out a bit more, which has been interesting.
But I think I love about the video, because the video kind of shows why I love singer-songwriters, is because you show in your video this kind of, you know, vulnerability, and you show the depth of the story. And because you have that the kind of toxic relationship, you kind of got the fear, the rejection from when people don't want to come to your show, and then people not paying attention. And so you have got a lot of things that, like, you know, artists are kind of, you know, obsessing about in their head when they're writing, you know, are people going to love what I'm doing? You know, people, do they love me? You know, it's all that. And I think it's a great thing about being a singer-songwriter is it's like you. And maybe that's a bad thing too, because then you kind of have to, like, how much of you do you put in your song, and how much of it is like Dylan creating a character? Like a lot of times Bob Dylan would create these characters and then everybody assumed they're him, right? But he creates and even Springsteen would do that. He created all these characters like a novelist. But then everybody who listens like, well, that's probably really him, right? so so as a songwriter, you're kind of always like wondering like, well, how much of that am I going to show the world? But I think to make the song the best song you can be, you kind of have to put yourself bare a little bit.
You do, yeah.
To really, or it comes off being maybe, certain genres you don't have to be that honest. Like in dance or disco or something that's more beat driven, you don't have to be super honest. You can kind of create a fantasy. But if you're going to do something more kind of to the heart, then it's going to reveal more of you, right?
Yeah, totally. And that's exactly it. And how much do you want to reveal and how scary that is at the time. and yeah, different characters. I mean, I think there's a essence of everybody in the characters they create. So like, even if you create a character, you've still got, a little bit of yourself in there for sure. And but like I said, that's also again the duality of ourselves, that we carry so many different, almost different versions of ourselves. Yeah.
The mask you wear, you have this idea of like, the social mask that you put on. Everybody has like this other me. And I've kind of focused on that is like really deep in my work is this idea of the other me, which manifests itself in Josephine Electric. She's like, that's not me, but it is me. So the idea of it, and then being able to have the duality of taking the female part of myself and putting it in front, but it's a lot of me, and I'm free to kind of take a different, view of myself, by creating Josephine. Is like this is feeling in that way, and I think a lot of artists is like, okay, well, how much of a character I'm going to create? If you think about like Bowie, he would create like Ziggy or the Lad Insane or Thin White Duke, and it's a different version of himself, from being a space alien to being this kind of dude or being this kind of androgynous dude or whatever. He's creating all these weird images, but they are like, how much of it is him and how much of it isn't him? And he would get into character and he would stay in character. Like I heard during the Ziggy phase, he actually stayed in character, like even when he was off stage. He didn't get out of it.
Wow.
But like, it just seems like sometimes you can take it that far as an artist because you feel like, well, that's going to give me my authentic work.
Yeah.
So how much do you have like a stage persona that you feel when you go on stage or when you're in the video? As an actor, you put yourself into that kind of zone to be that person that represents that song?
I mean, like, yeah, I think that I feel like I'm sort of the same. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I just follow my heart with how I feel at the time.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's the image of who you are at that moment.
Yeah, who I am at that moment. I mean, when I was I was just thinking about when you're a child, when you're a little kid, you play so many different parts and characters, and you make up stories, and you when you're a child, they tend to think about being a certain character, and so it is like, in a sense, being an artist is like being a child for me. And it's the innocence and the playfulness of like, let's just try this and let's just create this. And you want to be in this place. It is, yeah. I most liken it to being like a child, or like childlike, playful in nature, and and not being, and sort of coming back to that innocence, coming back to that like wide-eyed wonder of a child, because like sometimes when you get to an adult you get all cynical and like life is hard, and of course it is hard, and you are met sometimes with the difficulties of life, and like that video shows maybe a bit of rejection and that, but however the state of it, the state of creating is like being a bit like childlike in nature, and coming back to that. I
think being a musician, like a lot of times people will say, or when you're gonna grow up, right? You know, because when I was in bands like bar bands and stuff, and people are like, well, that's like, when are you gonna get out of that? It's like people always think, but like, well, you can't really be serious that you're gonna stay in that. But like as a musician, it's like, it's kind of like, yeah, you are. It kind of brings youth to you. I mean, I'm 54,
Wow.
and
I didn't think that.
yeah, and music makes me feel like not my age, because I do, like, especially the kind of music I do is stuff that people who are like way younger than I am are into, like the EDM, techno, trance, electronica stuff I'm doing is like not really from my age group.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And so when I do that, people, they don't think I'm as old, and the music makes me young because it makes me kind of childlike, like you're saying. I think because you're willing to do things that, like you said, if you grew up in a religious background, the idea of doing Josephine Electric, people are like, what? So it's like, so the idea of gender bending or genre bending or trying something different, being experimental, you, based on whatever your background, you might be more reluctant. You might have walls you have to break through to get to that like artistic capability.
Yes.
And I think being an actress or actor or musician or artist, you can access those things that people say you probably shouldn't.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
That's exactly what I like to do. And one thing I wanted to get into a little bit, like in that scene where you're kind of choking your love interest, that's interesting. Like, they have that kind of like power dynamic that you're taking control, because they were he seemed to be kind of being judgmental of what you were doing.
That's right.
It kind of came back at him way harder than most people would expect.
Yeah, I think that is the nature of the danger of, there's this saying that hell hath no fury like a woman scorned.
Yeah, it was there.
Yeah, and I think I just wanted to really portray, when people have been, like, I'm not saying I want to kill people, that's terrible, but like, truly, if people have been really mean to you, like, and you've been bullied or hurt or manipulated, controlled, or you've been in a toxic relationship, man, sometimes you just want to, like, you just feel like that. You may not act on it, but you certainly feel like it. And at the end of the day, that was a dream sequence that I had. So like, in a sense, I fantasized about like just you, like, being this bigger power. Obviously, if I was to verse him in real life, his name's Harry. He's actually really big and he's really strong. I probably could not overpower him probably in real life.
But no, it's kind of like this, like a dominatrix kind of really aggressive. Yeah. And it's kind of, I think that's cool. I like to play with that in my music. I try to act like my other self is like a dominatrix.
Yeah.
Taking power over like corporate raiders and people trying to push down her existence. And so then she has control in a different type of setting, and she just carries herself in that way. But yeah, I just think people are always looking for a way to exercise control over their lives, because like a lot of times, things are out of control, especially with like today in COVID. You can't do what you want to do.
Yeah.
The government tells you can't do this, you have to do this, you got to do this, you can't. And so then it's like, if you're an artist, it's like I see a lot of artists like rebelling and being in a rebellious state because they're like, no, hey, like the whole reason I'm an artist is because I want to do what I want.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That freedom. I mean, at the end of the day, I was having this dream sequence in the song that I'm just like, yeah, this is what I'd actually like to do to you. Strangle you. And then, wake up sort of from the dream. He's okay.
Yeah. But it's kind of like, I like that kind of content because like, I'm a big fan of like Lou Reed and the Velvets. And the cool thing about like the Velvet Underground is they took on topics in a song that you normally didn't do. Like Venus and Furs and like Waiting for the Man. Like, it's not a love song. It's like, or it's like Lou was able to take on things like Dylan took on things. And I just like it when singer-songwriters kind of go out of the norm and don't just do what is expected in a song. But, and then in your video, what's cool is like you have all this reality kind of in the dream sequences, and it's really cool a lot of the film techniques you used. Which a lot of times today in this kind of beat focused world, we just get into somebody trying to make a fantasy about something, but it's like kind of typical topics. Maybe topics have been done over and over and over. and I like the fact that you kind of went inside yourself and then presented it. And I think that's the whole point of being a singer-songwriter, is to kind of do that kind of self-analysis, which is, and it make people, see the beauty in it. And I think you were able to do that, and it's really impressive.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
It makes me want to see that character again. It makes me want to see a continuation of that story.
yeah. I mean, honestly, I just feel like there's so much more that I can do and offer and bring up with that sort of character and that whole concept of being sort of weak and then being strong, or like the domineering one, or being able to put an end.
Imagine a short film or a whole movie based on that one video. Yeah, I can see how you could take that and actually turn it into a full project. Either like a short film, like a 30-minute, like they used to do when MTV actually had videos. You could actually see this being like a 30-minute video, like a thriller. You'd see it being. Back in the day, people could do that because that was the focus. Kind of showing my age, but when videos were on MTV instead of like not videos. But because I like to see musicians actually be able to be creative in that way.
Yeah, and I think that's why I tend to really like with the team I worked with. We were just all about just sort of doing the best we can and having fun and having freedom to explore these things. And I think everybody needs freedom to explore, especially in the artistic realm. Also, like, with nowadays, you're talking about like having longer aspects to, film or music videos that are longer in length. We live in this, a lot of our videos and content today are quite small, like 15 seconds short. To 30 seconds. Yeah. And so I think for me personally, like the challenge to do both, to be able to do small bits that are kind of captivating or entertaining or something, as well as being able to venture off into maybe short films, creating short films or longer films, even maybe full feature films would be really amazing to do one day. They take a bit of work, but that'd be great to get into.
I would watch it because I think you're a very good actor.
Thank you.
I like, I can see it when in your eyes and how your movement, and you've got it. Some people have it and they don't. You have it, and
thank you.
It would be really cool to see like your Purple Rain. It's like because I can see it. Because I can see that you have the idea, and that 5-minute video shows that I really feel you can extend that, but that's maybe you won't have another.
Thank you.
Different, but that's a really awesome thing. And I'm, like I said, I'm from the age where I like that. Like I'm a guy that I listen to albums. I don't just listen to playlists. If I listen, I'll listen to your whole like body of work to get the feel of what you're doing.
Yeah,
because that's, to me, is like one song's not enough. But we're in this age where people have 2-minute songs. And I kind of like, I'm from the age where people had like, 12-minute, 15-minute song, 20-minute song from like a Yes or Genesis. It took the whole side of the record. That's where I come from. So I'm like, everything that's like less than that, I'm like, okay, it's over. It's a different age.
It is. It's perhaps like maybe it's good to do both. From my perspective, it'd be like, let's just put out those 2-minute songs. I've got 5-minute songs. And so I try and do both.
Have you done like
I try and do both.
Beat like dance like oriented songs?
Have I tried dance songs?
Yeah, like techno EDM kind of feel, or to like, get to that audience, like doing voice overs on things that are more rap or techno or EDM or trance, just to get that audience. Cause I've seen people who are really good vocalists jump in and do vocalizations on
like
EDM
top
records.
liners.
Yeah, just top lines, and really not songs, but maybe just like vocalizations on top of it.
Yeah, I would love to do more of that. I like just if somebody wants to use me to do some like sort of those vocals in EDM or whatever, that'd be so cool. Yeah, that'd be great. I'd like to do that. I just need to know the producers who kind of work with that sort of genre.
Yeah, well, a lot of them, they're producers or they're musicians or synthesis engineers, but they can't sing, and so they're dependent on features. So they have to bring in as many features. A lot of them are hip hop focused, but I've been listening to a lot of German and music from Iceland and Australia that's got these kind of elements of taking in maybe even soul singers.
Okay.
And doing like old school like Temptation, Four Top, Delphonic type vocals on top of something like an EDM. Because I love the genre bend, and I think that's kind of cool. If somebody takes in like a 70s soul vocal on top of an EDM or trance beat, then that's a little different. Kanye West has played with that, and we've had other people do stuff like that. But I think it's kind of cool cross genre stuff. But that's what I'm into. But
yeah, I totally agree. I just have to find I just have to connect with the right producers that actually know how to sort of bring those who specialize in those genres, you know, like that are more than just for me, like Four on the Floor. So it's finding the right people to work with and vibing with them. So
are you working with people right now on features on other stuff that's coming out, or are you primarily just working on your own stuff?
I've got somebody I work with. I've got a few people I work with, actually. I've got somebody I would like to get in a little bit more writing with him, actually, but somebody's based in LA, and he's done a bit of production on some of my songs. He's amazing. He did a bit of work on the song that's just released, Angels in Disguise, Demon on Display. And he's just laid some, he's just really amazing musician. I respect him so much. I'd also like to write with him as well. So maybe I'm hoping to make it to LA and maybe we can do some writing together. That would be really cool. I would like to get to America actually and just do some writing with some of the people I work with. So I'd like to meet them in the flesh and write with them and sit down and do some recording, because that'd be fun. Yeah, that'd be really fun.
That's the way the world was. I love to play with, like I said, with bands, guitar players, and drummers and stuff, and I haven't been able to do that for like a year and a half. But the other thing that before we go is we've been venturing since we did the podcast. We did an online music festival back in July, like 3 days. What we did is the idea was we called it the Peg Bedroom Producer Festival. And we had guests that had been on the show since 2018, because we've been doing this since 2018. We had like 22 acts over 3 days, and we went all day.
Wow.
Well, the first day was like at night because I was working, but I started at like 6 o'clock and went till like 12 o'clock, and then the next day was like 7 in the morning until like 11 o'clock at night, and then 7 in the morning until like 11 o'clock at night, so I could get people from different time zones. Because I talked to people like yourself from like Iceland, Norway, and New Zealand, and Australia, and each band did like a bedroom producer set from their studio or garage or somewhere. They did either live or taped or YouTube performances for 30 minutes, and I kind of framed them under this kind of Fam Electric Ghost thing, and so we're doing it again in February. From the 11th to the 13th. So open invitation to anybody who's on the show. That's the qualification. You've been interviewed by the Ghost. Want to do that? We're starting to set the schedule. If you're interested.
Great. Yeah, totally put my name down.
Yeah,
I'm
with you on the details of what needs to be done offline, but
yeah, that sounds so much fun because yeah, that'd be cool. I can actually, yeah, I've been actually doing a little bit of just rehearsals, getting ready for live with some of my new music. So actually getting ready for recording too. Doing some live videos. So I am sort of in the process of being. I'm warmed up. You know, like you got to start a car and let it warm up a bit.
Yeah.
I'm like that. I need to get warmed up, and then so I'm sort of warming myself up at the moment, and for actually just doing more music, more proper music, other than just programming type of music.
Yeah, we're hoping in the future, could we have a connection in New York to actually do when COVID is under control, to do this Peg Festival live at some venues in New York City.
Oh wow!
The overall goal is we're working with some artists and some labels in New York, independent labels that actually were involved in it, and we're gonna actually, when we can, actually have like multiple venues when the time is right, where we have bands that can, if they can get to New York, or U.S. bands, but we're hoping to get some bands from other places to actually come and do it, and we'll still do it streaming. We'll still stream it, but there'll be like a live stage instead of just a virtual like at home stage. But that's the overall goal. We're trying to do this like 3-4 times a year.
That would be so fun. Yeah, definitely put my name down. I'm definitely interested.
That will be for the online for now, but eventually we'll
totally. I mean, that's a great goal. I mean, like even for me, just getting to there eventually would be huge. Yeah,
it would just be cool to meet the people I talk to, because I get to talk to people, but then I don't really get to meet them. So
that would be cool.
Eventually, we want to do the podcast where we actually have a place where people come, like the way Bruce Springsteen and Obama do it, like they actually in person.
Yeah,
they do a podcast where they're actually in the room. We want to get to something like that in the future too. That's something we're working on. Because that kind of podcasting is where I've been able to open up a lot of things with it. I've been able to actually do albums by some of the guests I've had. Actually, we've gone and done records. But it's just you never know. Like, it's just a cool way as a musician to like learn about. I'm a fan first, So when I listen to your music or I listen to anybody's on the show, just to me it opens me up, because as a musician you need to get inspired. And the cool thing about this show is like I get to listen to different music like every week, 2 or 3 bands a week. And I get to hear something I never heard before, and so what's new? And it's like, well, what's new is who I'm talking to.
You're getting it straight there. Yeah.
It's really
awesome.
I find it helps my own music to kind of get different feels and different perspectives by talking to musicians like yourself. And the theatrics that you do, because you're an actor, that's something I'm interested in, just because I think every musician, when you do your show, you got to do some kind of stagecraft. You got to get out of yourself and not just be at the board. I'm just going to stay at the board and be stiff, or am I actually going to do something more than that to kind of do a show? I think Bowie said, it's like, I could have come out there with blue jeans, but I wanted to be theatrical, so he created Ziggy, and Ziggy is not just wearing blue jeans,
It's so much more entertaining if like, rather than just somebody standing there. I just think it just to getting out there like live and actually just putting on a performance is it's number one.
I think it's very important to kind of think about how you present yourself. And then the different costumes you can wear, the clothes you wear, your makeup, whether you have like a dead mouse, and like I have a mask. I actually have like a phantom mask. It's LED. LED, and the shoes are LED, and I got gloves there. Because it's like EDM trance. That's like the thing. You don't come out looking like yourself. You come out looking like something else. But it's the idea that it's the other me that you present, because that's the stage you, right? And that's the person somebody will actually pay a ticket to see. I don't know if pay to see me. So I got to be more than me. I think every artist has to kind of when you get on stage, like when you sing, do you feel like you become like Esraa, that's the music you versus like the day-to-day you?
Oh man, time stops for me when I get on stage. It's just so beautiful. Everything slows down and I can hear so clearly. I can feel so easily. It's like I can see so well. It's like I become a superhuman. And I feel, yeah, I just feel so connected in the spirit realm, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
totally does. I think, and I'm part Cherokee, so I'm into like spirit animals and stuff like that.
Oh,
But,
right. Wow.
So yeah, it's this idea that you can kind of channel that, you know, when you're an artist, that you can tap into that, and you become a little bit more than your typical self because you've channeled into, like, I think all artists, we channel into the muse, we channel into like this ether, and it's like, I think the better artist you are, you don't put a boundary, you let it come in.
Yeah, for sure.
I think the one thing I'll say before we leave is like Hendrix, one time he was playing with the Isley brothers, right? And he was on the Chitlin circuit, and he used to sometimes get in trouble because he would just go off script and play something that and they would ask him, what is that? That doesn't go with the song. He's like, well, I had to catch it or I would lose it. So Hendrix had this habit of saying he was picking things up from the universe and he had to play it because like he would lose it if he didn't do it. So he like, I read about him, he would like, people would get mad at him because he would kind of, when he was playing with other bands, he was a sideman, and he would bring in all this extra stuff that didn't fit the song, and he was like, well, I'm sorry, I had to put it down.
Yeah, well, he's obviously in the moment.
Yeah, and it's like, because he's kind of tapped into that thing. I think that all artists, we tap into that, but he was like maybe extreme version of that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's awesome.
So I love having you on the show again, and
Thank you.
yeah, we're looking forward to doing the festival in 2022 and beyond. And this is live on all of our channels. Like I said, it's on Twitch, it's on YouTube, it's on 2 Facebooks, and we still convert this to Spotify and Apple and 9 other audio podcast platforms. So that stuff will happen within the next hour, or next day or two. And we'll send you the permanent links for the YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook.
Perfect. Well, yeah, I'll put those on my social media too, because I'm sure. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Everybody go to the hyperlink that we have below and go out to YouTube. And your song is on all the channels, all the streaming services, right? This song is on Spotify and Apple and Tidal and everywhere else, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So yeah, make sure you go to all those platforms, download it, favorite it, like it, playlist it, support the artists you love. Make sure you download, like, subscribe everywhere you can, because it's very important to not just view it without doing the feedback.
Yeah, thank you.
Let people know that if you're the artist you love, you can buy their merch, buy their material, download it, do everything you can.
Yeah, thank you so much.
More independent music, please.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you very much for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Really appreciated our chat, and yeah, it'd be great to do some live music with you too.
Thank you.
Yeah.